Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CM Trading. Today is June 30th, 2021, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of today, we're watching Microsoft taking the lead to new record highs and bringing the NASDAQ higher as well. Now, there's no major economic event scheduled for today, but as we look at the various markets, starting out the Forex symbols, really very flat, very quiet market. The major pairs continue to trade flat. Like if we look at the indices, the NASDAQ trades to new record highs once again, and the Dow Jones continues to show weakness continuously. Now looking at commodities, oil pretty much unchanged, while gold retraces to support at that 1760 level. We're going to take a look at that. And looking at the stocks, as mentioned, Microsoft trading to new record highs. Facebook sells off a little bit yesterday, so it's really Microsoft that took the lead. And lastly, looking at Bitcoin, did give up some gains after a nice pop above resistance. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're going to start out here with a Euro USD at 4-hour chart, but just for austerity purposes. I mean, I'm really not trading this right now because if you look at it, it's flat. I mean, between 1920 or 1950 and 1900, okay, to be trading in such a tight range, especially from yesterday, it's very difficult to make some profitability here, okay, especially when there's no character, as we're, just receding down to the bottom of the range and then popping above it, which is fine if you want to play that 5, 10, 20 pips, that's fine, but just be realistic. They're not pulling out 100 pips from these type of trades. Now, if we look across the board, GBP also quite flat here, okay, at 138. 50-ish level, okay, also retracing. If we look at some of the other major pairs, I'm not going to, just because I think it's so much more worth it to spend more time at focusing on something like Microsoft, which is making new highs and continuously giving us that volume and that volatility that we need in order to make money in the markets. Now looking at gold, all right, we're going to jump to commodities. On a daily chart, we're trading at that 1760. This is an important level. Okay, this is something that I thought that we would challenge again. And as we're breaking below it, okay, let's see if it does break it further today. Now, I'm going to be looking at this very carefully because if it does break this 1760, we could definitely see it back in the 1700-ish area, okay? So all intents and purposes, the rally's been over, okay, if that does happen. This was previous resistance, subsequent support, so that's why I'm putting so much attention to this, because potentially it could really be a great trade on the downside. Now looking at oil, oil's had a sideways kind of environment over the past couple of days. If we look at it daily, you can see that we're tapering off in our nice rally upwards, okay, since we had from October rallying from $34 all the way to $70. That's a double, okay, for your return on oil. Now looking right now, we're trading at 73, so it's tapering off and it's trading within the range, and it's going to be trading within this range for a while. Now there is a new COVID variant out there called the Delta variant. The people are saying that it's going to be more infectious than the original Alpha variant, which was the original COVID variant. Right now, this variant is from India and it's spreading in Europe and the UK. Now it's starting to get into the United States. So it's something to consider as we're going into the summer months, because we were feeling like the markets were going to be expanding. So I'm going to be watching this very carefully to see if we do have any sell-off in the markets, because that could still happen. Now looking at the Dow Jones, we traded sideways yesterday after a nice little pop-up to 34,400, but now we're trading at 34,200. We retraced about 200 points, and it's showing some weakness, because when we look at the NASDAQ, it's not doing that. It's going to all-time highs and making new highs. 14,578 is where we're at. Now, just in the beginning of the week, we were trading at 14,000. So this has gone up tremendously over the past week. And you could attribute to Microsoft. Look at that. Microsoft trading at 270, all-time record highs. I mean, if we do a year-to-date from last year to this year, I mean, we've almost doubled in price, okay? Unbelievable little rally there from 133 up to 270. That's a doubling in price from the beginning and the height of the pandemic when it first was announced until where we are right now. So this is still on a tear, still on a, as we call it, on an upwards momentum. It's still very interesting how this is still unfolding. Now, Facebook took a little bit of a return yesterday, after spiking to 354 yesterday and then just taking off a little bit of a breather to 349, but still close enough to its highs. However, looking at JP Morgan and looking at Alcoa, they're not breaking out higher. Okay, so the markets are still taking a rotation, and most of the buying is pressured on the high-end, high-tech stocks. Now, looking at Bitcoin lastly, okay, Bitcoin had a nice little bump yesterday above this 34,000, 800-ish level, and then just took it up to 36,400-ish level. A nice little bounce, okay, breaking that resistance-ish area, but couldn't sustain it and sold off. My question is whether or not this is going to hold this level, because this was previous resistance and potentially subsequent support. So I'd like to see what happens today and be focusing on this to see if we get that bounce further today. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish everybody a great trading day. Thank you.